So the headline, just bam. Judge Mathis and wife reunite after near divorce. I mean, for a couple, that was basically the definition of stability for what? Almost 4 decades. The
Yeah.
shock factor was huge, really huge, because this wasn't just, another celebrity split. This felt like an institution was crumbling. 39 years, the 4 kids, this whole image they'd built up,
So the
pause
puppet
that
done.
symbol, right? And suddenly that legacy felt threatened.
Oh, completely. It was definitely a crisis.
Yeah.
But looking back now, it was also kind of a masterclass. Strategic,
Oh.
and public accountability, too. You brought us all these sources
Hmm.
covering that really intense summer back in 2024. And I think our mission today here on the Deep Dive is maybe to pull out the biggest lesson from that whole 3-week storm
Yeah.
and figure out how one legal filing, just one piece of paper, really forced a renegotiation of such a long, long marriage.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your guides through the source material, here to pull out the essential knowledge, the surprising bits from the stories shaping things around us. So today, we're getting into the high-stakes negotiation that, well, saved one of Hollywood's really durable marriages.
Mhm.
What does this deep dive really tell us about what it costs to maintain that public image of perfection?
Okay, yeah, let's dig in. First, we got to remember the foundation they had. It was immense. Greg and Linda Mathis, they met back at Eastern Michigan University, married in June '85, and raised 4 kids who are all, successful adults now: Jade, Kamara, Greg Jr., and Amir. And their marriage, it wasn't just kept private. It felt like a public mission, always described as like wholesome, solid, unshakable.
Right, and that framing is so important because it shows you just how jarring the news was for everyone. I mean, think about it, March 2024, just a few months before it all went down, Judge Mathis is out there saying publicly, we all have our flaws, but we don't fight. They're selling this picture of, like, effortless harmony.
Totally. They absolutely were. And the sources, they kind of peel back the layers on that public image. It was masking this imbalance that had been going on for decades. If you even look back just a couple of years, like to his Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony in 2022, you can almost see the problem right there, even though he meant it as like a compliment.
Exactly. When he got his star, he thanked Linda, saying she allowed me to work 15 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week. And yeah, it sounds heartfelt, but that phrase, allowed me, it kind of sums it up, doesn't it? It basically cast her as the anchor of sacrifice, the enabler, really, absorbing all that time he wasn't putting into the marriage itself.
hmm And that dynamic, well, it just couldn't last forever, could it? The sources suggest that, yeah, this sacrifice, this enabling role, it pushed her to what she called a breaking point later on. She just needed, to prioritize herself, her own existence outside of just being the support system.
Which leads us right to the divorce filing. Around August 22nd, 2024. Citing the standard stuff, irreconcilable differences, separation date July 17th. Looks routine on the surface, right? But then you connect it to what Linda said later on the Tamron Hall show. And the real intention kind of snaps into focus.
Oh, yeah, she was quiet, but so clear. It completely reframed everything. She said, I supported him always, and at that time, I felt I needed to just take care of me. See, it wasn't about hunting for scandal or cheating or anything like that. It was just this powerful declaration, asserting herself after decades.
And the timing, wow, so significant. All 4 kids are adults, right? 34 to 40, they're out of the house. So Linda finally has that space, emotional space, maybe physical space too, to take stock. The empty nest wasn't just about the house being quiet. It was like the mental room she needed for this huge move.
Exactly. And that's why this filing is so interesting to look at analytically. It really was, like we said, a strategic play, high stakes. She files those papers, maybe not because she definitely wanted out, but because she needed something drastic. A crisis intervention almost. It felt like an ultimatum, really, designed to make him finally face the long-term neglect, to renegotiate everything.
And that shock and awe approach, it landed perfectly. Judging by his reaction, the sources are crystal clear. He called that 3-week separation devastating. But what's really fascinating is the psychology behind that pain, the admission he made.
If you really parse what he said, he compared losing Linda. He compared it to how he felt when I lost my mother. Wow, that's deep. That's a core fear, right? Abandonment. And we know he met Linda not long after his mother passed away, so it suggests maybe her presence wasn't just about partnership, but maybe filling this huge emotional gap left by that loss.
So then his motivation, his immediate, all-out campaign to get her back, it makes total sense. I'd do anything to get my mother back, so I did anything to get my wife back. That quote says it all. But, okay, we have to ask, given how emotional it was for him, how much of the public display was performance, was he kind of leveraging his whole brand,
Well, that's a fair question. You have to look at it critically. He definitely used the tools he had. I mean, he didn't hide away. He went straight to TMZ. That was calculated, no doubt. A brilliant bit of media strategy, really.
Yeah.
Because by admitting fault right away, specifically neglect, he shut down any worse rumors, like infidelity, maybe.
Yeah, he flipped the script instantly. He used the very thing his brand was built on, accountability, like a judge to frame himself as a cautionary tale for other guys. Don't neglect your wife. That's what happens, guys.
And it worked. It was incredibly effective messaging. It shifted him from, the neglectful husband, which is a liability, to this sympathetic guy, the repentant hero fighting for his family. That quick public admission, it bought him a lot of goodwill. And it kind of paved the way for the public to accept them getting back together later.
Okay, so we've talked about the talk, the words, the messaging. But the reunion, it couldn't just be talk, right? It had to be about action. When he said he'd do anything, what did that actually mean in terms of, like, professional sacrifice? Because saying sorry wasn't going to cut it after 39 years of 15-hour workdays.
Right. And the sources really underlined the cost of the change he made. This is where you see the commitment. He had to tackle the root issue, his absence. He didn't just, slow down a bit. He totally changed his work life. He said, he put off all my speaking engagements around the country, so I'm home.
Okay, let's just pause on that. Judge Mathis, his career is built on those speaking gigs, the travel, the public face, canceling all that. That's not just tweaking your calendar, that's real financial impact. It's fundamentally changing how he operates professionally. It was proof, wasn't it? Costly proof that the marriage finally came first, before the career that had always won out before.
Absolutely. The action had a real cost, and that's the only kind that really registers in a negotiation this serious. But he didn't just stop with the practical changes. He also reframed the whole thing spiritually. He elevated their personal struggle into something bigger, a public purpose even, saying things like, God has to break you down and put you on another mission.
Ah, the classic brand realignment. That's smart. It creates this narrative of redemption, right?
Yeah.
Shifts the focus off failure. He spent his career helping at-risk youth, and now suddenly he's on a mission to help Black love.
It's a really sophisticated pivot strategically. You take this major personal failing and you turn it into a public asset. Now he has this wisdom, this new expertise to share. And it actually reinforces their original brand, the community focus, but with this crucial twist. Now the brand isn't about perfection anymore. It's about resilience, about doing the work.
And the public, well, they needed to say it was real. They needed proof. The sources kind of track the reunion unfolding, those public appearances late in 2024. Linda just saying simply, we're standing here right now together. It speaks for itself.
And then came the more viral stuff, the personal touches in 2025.
Okay.
That photo of them kissing in New York City in July, Mathis serenading her on Instagram back in May. You can feel the family relief too. Their son Greg Jr. talked about in February 25, said he was just relieved they worked it out after that whole media whirlwind.
But the real confirmation, like the final verdict that the whole strategy actually worked, that came from Linda herself, didn't it? In that joint interview, October 2025, she confirmed they did a lot of work. And the key phrase, for me anyway, was when she said they learned each other again.
Oh, that phrase is powerful. It sums up the resolution perfectly. It means they moved past the history, right? The decades of habit and old ways of relating. They built something new, grounded in the present, intentional. They didn't just snap back to how things were. They created a new negotiated partnership.
Which brings us right back to that power shift we talked about earlier. Linda started the crisis. She filed the grievance, essentially. Judge Mathis did the work. The restitution showed real costly change. And her final assessment, her saying it worked, that was her effectively deciding to, vacate the judgment of divorce.
Yeah, it's fascinating. The crisis, in the end, it actually gave them a new deal, a more equitable partnership, maybe. She got the recognition, the attention that was missing. He got to keep the family unit he was terrified of losing. And their story, it really sets this strong, modern example for how to handle a public marital crisis. Accountability, real change, growing together.
Yeah, that whole intense 3 weeks, it transformed the narrative. From effortless perfection to something about deep resilience, hard work. And arguably, it made both their marriage and their public image stronger because they showed they could fail publicly and then constructively grow from it.
The crisis forced that tough negotiation,
Yeah.
and the partnership they have now is probably stronger because it's not just relying on her sacrifice anymore.
So if you found this deep dive into the strategy behind that reconciliation interesting, definitely make sure you're subscribed. Hit that button.
Yeah, we love getting into the details of these complicated stories, finding the real insights behind all the headlines.
You've been listening to The Deep Dive, where we uncover the true knowledge behind the stories shaping pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the topics you care about.